I still remember the exact moment. My daughter Emma's sweet 16th birthday party. The backyard was decorated with twinkling lights, teenagers laughing by the pool, and my entire family huddled in a corner, whispering. Their eyes darted toward me when they thought I wasn't looking. My sister leaned into my mother's ear. "Sarah's going to lose everything. How irresponsible can she be?" They didn't bother lowering their voices anymore. They wanted me to hear. What they didn't know was that while they were ordering another round of drinks on my tab and criticizing my life choices, I was watching the driveway, waiting. 3 years of sacrifice, second-guessing, and midnight panic attacks had led to this moment. Then he appeared, tall, suit pressed to perfection, manila envelope in hand. The conversation around the grill stopped as he walked straight through the party toward me. "Mrs. Mitchell?" he asked, loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I believe these belong to you now." He handed me a set of keys with a brass nameplate attached. My brother-in-law choked on his beer. My mother's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. And in that single, perfect moment of silence, I finally felt the weight lift from my shoulders. Growing up in suburban Massachusetts as the middle child between 2 high-achieving siblings shaped my entire existence. My older brother, Michael, the golden child with his Yale law degree, and my younger sister, Rebecca, the artistic prodigy who sold her first painting at 17. Then there was me, Sarah Mitchell, the practical one, as my father would say, with that particular smile that never quite reached his eyes. Dad was a respected economics professor at Boston University, Mom a pediatric surgeon. Dinner conversations revolved around Michael's latest case or Rebecca's gallery showings. When it was my turn, I'd mention my steady job in banking, and Dad would invariably say, "At least Sarah's reliable," before changing the subject. When I was 12, I saved for months to buy a microscope, wanting to show Dad I could be academic too. The night I presented it at dinner, he barely glanced up from his journal article. "That's nice, honey. A bit basic for any real science, but it's a start." I dismantled it the next day and never mentioned it again. The summer after high school, I declined an internship at a prestigious bank, choosing instead to work with a small financial consulting firm that helped struggling small businesses. When I told my family, Dad's face hardened. "All that tutoring, all those college prep courses, and you choose to play accountant for failing businesses?" The contempt in his voice silenced the table. Later, I overheard him telling Mom, "Sarah just doesn't have the ambition gene. We'll have to help her settle for something adequate." The pattern continued through college and beyond. I married Tom, a kind elementary school teacher without family connections or inheritance. "Sensible choice," Dad commented at our wedding reception, 3 drinks in. "Tom won't challenge you too much." When Emma was born, I thought things might change. Instead, family gatherings became opportunities for unsolicited parenting advice. "Sarah's too lenient," they'd say, or "Sarah needs to focus on Emma's academics earlier." The whispers grew louder when Tom and I divorced after 11 years. It was amicable. We'd grown apart, but remained friends for Emma's sake. My family saw it differently. "Another impulsive decision," Mom said during Sunday dinner. "You should have worked harder at it, like adults do." What they never knew was that 6 months before the divorce, I'd started meeting with a business mentor named Diane. She'd built a specialized financial advisory firm catering to women-owned businesses and was looking for a successor. "You see things others miss," she told me. "You understand struggle and resilience. That's worth more than any Ivy League degree. The night I signed the preliminary acquisition papers for Diane's firm, I celebrated alone in my apartment after Emma went to sleep. 3 years of intensive training, certification exams, and building my client portfolio in secret. 3 years of my family assuming I was barely getting by on child support and a middling bank salary. 3 years of their pitying glances and backhanded offers of financial help. "I'm worried about Sarah," I overheard my brother telling my sister before Emma's birthday party. "She's put everything into this party, probably maxed out her credit cards. Should we start a family fund for her?" They laughed, that particular Mitchell laugh reserved for problems they could solve with checkbooks. Little did they know, I'd already secured financing to buy Diane's business outright. The final papers would be signed on Emma's birthday, my gift to myself and my daughter. A future built on my terms. The keys to a legacy that had nothing to do with the Mitchell family name and everything to do with the woman I'd become despite them. Emma's sweet 16 had been in planning for months. She wanted something Instagram-worthy but not basic, which meant I'd spent weeks coordinating with vendors, selecting the perfect playlist, and transforming our modest backyard into a teen dream space with a canopy of string lights, a photo booth with custom props, and a dessert table that would make professional bakers envious. The morning of the party, I woke at 5 a.m., my stomach knotted with anticipation. Today wasn't just Emma's milestone. It marked the culmination of my 3-year journey. By evening, I would officially be the owner of Mitchell Financial Advisors. The name was deliberate. Reclaiming my maiden name as a business identity felt like the perfect statement. "Mom, are Grandpa and Grandma here yet?" Emma asked, appearing in the kitchen in her new sundress, hair perfectly styled. "They just texted. They're bringing Uncle Michael and Aunt Jen early to help set up." I made air quotes, and Emma rolled her eyes knowingly. "So basically to inspect everything and point out what we did wrong?" I smiled at my perceptive daughter. "Exactly." They arrived 30 minutes later, my father carrying an expensive bottle of champagne, my mother clutching a gift bag from Tiffany's. "Sarah, darling," Mom air-kissed my cheeks, "the place looks creative. Did you do all this yourself or hire someone within your budget?" Before I could answer, Dad was inspecting the catering setup. "Finger foods only? I thought there'd be a proper meal." "It's what Emma wanted, Dad. Teens prefer to graze while socializing." He frowned. "When Michael turned 16, we had that catered dinner at the Harborview. Remember that, son?" Michael nodded. The prime rib was spectacular. The afternoon progressed with similar microaggressions. My mother rearranged the gift table. Michael commented on the economical sound system. Rebecca, arriving fashionably late, immediately huddled with Mom to discuss whether my outfit was appropriate for hosting. Emma's friends began arriving at 4, filling the yard with excited chatter and genuine appreciation for the setup. "Mrs. Mitchell, this is literally the coolest party ever," one of them gushed, snapping photos of the custom photo wall I'd designed based on Emma's favorite music artists. Around 5, I checked my phone, a text from Lawrence, my attorney. "Papers processed, Jordan on his way with keys and documents." "Congratulations, owner." My hands trembled as I replied a simple, "Thank you." At the drink station, I overheard Rebecca talking to our cousin Patty. "It's all for show," she whispered. "Tom told Michael she's been taking extra shifts at the bank. There's no way she can afford all this." "Maybe she's dating someone rich?" Patty suggested. Rebecca snorted. "Sarah? Please, she hasn't had a date in months. Too busy trying to prove she doesn't need help." I moved toward the grill where Dad was predictably improving the burger flipping technique of the caterer I'd hired. "Sarah," he beckoned me over, We need to talk about Emma's college fund. Michael mentioned you haven't opened a 529 plan yet. She's 16. You're already behind. I have my own financial plan for Emma, Dad. He lowered his voice. Look, I know things have been tight since the divorce, but education isn't something to economize on. Your mother and I are prepared to set something up for Emma ourselves. The familiar heat of shame and anger rose in my chest. That won't be necessary. Don't let pride get in the way of Emma's future, he pressed, his tone identical to when I was 12 and had gotten a B+ in algebra. Financial management has never been your strong suit. Across the yard, Emma was opening presents, surrounded by friends. My mother hovered nearby, cataloging each gift with approving or disapproving nods. Dad, you have no idea what my strong suits are, I replied, surprising myself with my steady voice. You never have. His eyebrows shot up. Now, Sarah. Mr. Mitchell? A deep voice interrupted. Jordan Chen, Diane's attorney, stood beside us in his impeccable suit, manila envelope in hand. I apologize for interrupting, but I have time-sensitive documents for Sarah. Dad's expression shifted from annoyance to curiosity. Legal documents? Is everything all right, Sarah? The backyard seemed to quiet, or maybe it was just my awareness heightening. Rebecca had stopped mid-sentence. Mom was watching intently. Even Emma had paused her gift opening. Jordan handed me the envelope with a smile. The transfer is complete. Diane asked me to deliver these personally. He pulled out a set of keys on a heavy silver keychain engraved with MFA and placed them in my palm. What's this about? Dad demanded, looking between Jordan and me. I closed my fingers around the keys, feeling their weight, the physical manifestation of my years of silent work. Sarah is now the official owner of Mitchell Financial Advisors, Jordan announced, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Diane Livingston's firm has been successfully transitioned. Congratulations, Sarah. The silence that followed was deafening. The keys felt warm in my palm as I stood frozen between my father's thunderstruck expression and Jordan's professional smile. Emma abandoned her gifts and hurried over. Mom, what's happening? She asked, eyes wide with curiosity. Before I could answer, my father recovered his composure. There must be some mistake, he said to Jordan, his professor voice in full effect. My daughter works at First National. She's a personal banking associate. Not anymore, I said quietly. Then louder, not for the past 3 years, actually. My mother materialized at Dad's side. Sarah, what have you done? Her voice carried that familiar note of preemptive disappointment. The party had effectively paused. Emma's friends huddled awkwardly by the photo booth, while my extended family made no pretense of not listening. What I've done, I said, feeling a strange calm settle over me, is purchase a successful financial advisory firm that specializes in helping women entrepreneurs secure funding and build sustainable businesses. Jordan nodded. Diane Levinson's firm has been the top boutique financial advisory in Portland for 15 years. Sarah has been her chosen successor, working alongside her and building her own client portfolio for 3 years now. But that's not possible, Rebecca interjected, wine glass clutched tightly. You've been struggling since the divorce. You turned down family trips because you couldn't afford them. You're always talking about budget constraints. I met my sister's confused gaze. I turned down family trips because I was studying for my Series 65 and 7 exams. I talked about budget constraints because I was investing everything into buying this business. I didn't struggle, I sacrificed. Why wouldn't you tell us? My mother's question held genuine bewilderment. The dam broke. Years of carefully contained frustration rushed forward. Tell you? When have any of you actually listened to me? When have you ever believed I could accomplish something significant? My voice remained level, but carried across the yard. Dad, you've spent my entire life explaining why my choices were inadequate. Mom, you've spent yours apologizing for my practical nature as if it were a defect. I turned to my siblings. Michael, Rebecca, every family gathering becomes an inventory of your accomplishments, followed by concerned discussions about my limited potential. So no, I didn't tell you. I didn't want this journey tainted by your doubt. That's completely unfair, Dad sputtered. We've always supported you. You've always supported a version of me that needed your help, your guidance, your financial rescue. You've never once supported me as a capable, independent person with her own vision. Jordan cleared his throat discreetly. Perhaps I should come back another time? No, I said firmly. This is perfect timing. Emma should see this part too. I opened the manila envelope and removed the documents. Mitchell Financial Advisors now manages over $30 million in assets for 42 clients. We've helped secure funding for 17 women-owned businesses in the last year alone. The firm is valued at $4.7 million, and it's mine. The shock on their faces would have been comical if it weren't so revealing. They genuinely couldn't reconcile this reality with their perception of me. Mom, Emma said, her voice ringing with pride, is this why you've been working late all those nights? Is this my other birthday surprise? I smiled at my daughter, the one person who'd never doubted me. Yes, sweetheart, I wanted to show you that we define our own success, not anyone else. My father's face had turned an alarming shade of red. This is absurd. You've always been impulsive, but this, taking on a business of that size with no experience. Dad, I interrupted, I have an MBA from Boston University. I worked in banking for 12 years. I've spent 3 years training specifically for this role. What part of my background suggests I'm unqualified? But the risk, the financial exposure, how could you gamble with Emma's security like this? I felt something shift inside me, the last thread of seeking his approval finally snapping. That's enough, I said, my voice soft but firm. Emma, honey, would you show your friends the dessert table? I think it's time. As the teenagers gratefully escaped the tension, I turned back to my family. For 38 years, I've listened to all of you define my limitations. Today, that ends. I don't need your approval, your financial advice, or your condescending concern. What I've built is solid, successful, and completely beyond what any of you thought possible for me. I picked up my purse and the envelope. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to celebrate with my daughter and her friends. You're welcome to stay if you can adjust your perception of me, or you're welcome to leave if you can't. Either way, I'm done explaining myself to people who never really saw me. I walked away, keys clutched in my hand, leaving my family in stunned silence. As I passed the dessert table, Emma caught my eye and gave me a thumbs up. In that moment, I realized I'd given her something far more valuable than a business legacy. I'd shown her how to claim her own power. Behind me, I heard my mother's voice. "Robert, did you know about any of this?" And my father's subdued response, "No, Virginia. It appears we didn't know our daughter at all." The aftermath of my revelation rippled through the party like a stone thrown into still water. Emma's friends, sensing the adult drama but not fully understanding it, clustered around her with the protective instinct of teenage girls. My revelation had inadvertently given my daughter social capital. Suddenly, her mom wasn't just a mom, but someone with an unexpected story. I busied myself at the dessert table, arranging cupcakes that didn't need arranging, giving my family space to process. From the corner of my eye, I saw my parents in heated discussion. Michael paced the edge of the yard on his phone, probably Googling my business. Rebecca sat alone, repeatedly tucking her hair behind her ear, her nervous tell since childhood. Tom, my ex-husband, approached first. He'd arrived late and witnessed the whole scene. "So, that's what all those late nights were about," he said, a gentle smile playing at his lips. "I always knew it was something bigger than extra shifts." "You never asked," I replied, not accusingly, just stating fact. "I didn't need to. I know what you look like when you're building something important." He squeezed my shoulder. "I'm proud of you, Sarah. Really proud." His simple acceptance nearly broke me. Of all people, Tom had always seen me most clearly, even when our marriage was ending. Emma bounded over, her friends in tow. "Mom, Lexi's dad is a real estate developer, and he wants to talk to you about financial advising for women contractors." She pulled forward Lexi's father, who introduced himself as Jason. "My wife runs a contracting business specializing in eco-friendly renovations," he explained. "Finding financial advisors who understand the unique challenges of women in construction has been difficult." I handed him my new business card, the first time I'd used one. I'd be happy to meet with her next week. As they walked away, I caught my father watching the exchange, his expression unreadable. The party continued with a strange dual energy, the teenagers celebrating with increasing abandon, while my family members processed their shattered perceptions in various corners of the yard. Around sunset, as the fairy lights twinkled on automatically, my sister approached. Her eyes were red-rimmed. "Why didn't you trust me enough to tell me?" she asked, hurt evident in her voice. I considered deflecting, but chose honesty instead. "Because you would have told everyone, Beck. Not maliciously, but you would have, and they would have found 1,000 reasons why it would fail." She didn't deny it. "The business name, using Mitchell, that was deliberate?" "Reclaiming it, on my terms," I nodded. "Mitchell means something different now." Rebecca studied her glass. "I've been a terrible sister, haven't I?" "Not terrible, just complicit in a family dynamic that never made room for who I actually am." To my surprise, she hugged me fiercely. "I want to know that person, the real Sarah." Later, as most guests had left and Emma was saying goodbye to her friends, my father appeared at my side as I collected gift wrapping paper. "Your mother and I will be leaving now," he said stiffly. "Okay. Thank you for coming." I continued cleaning. "Sarah," his voice had lost its usual authoritative edge. "The firm, it's really worth nearly $5 million?" I straightened up. "The valuation was completed last month. We're actually tracking to exceed revenue projections this quarter." He nodded, struggling visibly. "And you did this without any help?" "I had help, Dad, just not from family. Diane believed in me. My clients trust me. My team respects me." He flinched slightly at the implication. "I always thought," he began, then stopped. "When you were little, you were so cautious, always looking before leaping. I thought you needed protection from disappointment. What I needed was space to take my own risks." He looked suddenly older, smaller somehow. "I've been wrong about you, for a very long time, it seems." It wasn't quite an apology, but from my father, it was seismic. "Yes," I said simply, "you have." The week after the party brought unexpected developments. My mother called daily, asking questions about my business with genuine interest. Michael sent a referral, a colleague's wife starting a pediatric practice. Even my father made an effort, forwarding articles about women entrepreneurs with brief notes. Thought of you. The most surprising call came from Diane, my mentor. I hear the big reveal went dramatically, she laughed. How did you know? Jordan told me. He was impressed by your composure, said you stood your ground like a seasoned CEO. I smiled at the compliment. It felt right, finally saying everything out loud. Well, I have news that might make things even more interesting, Diane said. Remember Westlake Investment Group? They've reconsidered our proposal for the Women's Entrepreneurship Fund. They want to commit $20 million in initial capital, with you as the fund advisor. My hand tightened on the phone. This was the project we'd pitched months ago. A specialized investment fund focused exclusively on women-owned businesses in traditionally male-dominated industries. That would change everything, I whispered. We could fund twice as many startups next year. There's more, Diane continued. They were particularly impressed by your research on return rates for women-led businesses in the manufacturing sector. The lead partner wants to meet you personally. After we hung up, I sat in my new office, keys on the desk before me. The fund would mean expansion, hiring more advisors, potentially a second office. It would also mean stepping fully into the public eye as an industry expert, no more flying under the radar. That evening, Emma found me on the porch swing, staring at the stars. You okay, Mom? You've been quiet tonight. I made room for her beside me. At 16, she still occasionally wanted these moments of closeness. I'm more than okay. I'm figuring out what's next. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Grandpa called me today, she said. He asked about my college plans. I tensed slightly. What did you tell him? That I'm thinking about business and finance. He was quiet for a really long time. Then he said, "You're like your mother. I didn't see it before." She looked up at me. He meant it as a compliment, Mom. I could tell. I felt tears prick my eyes as Emma continued. I told him, I'm exactly like you. I know what I want and I'll work for it, even if no one else believes I can do it. She sat up straighter. And then I asked if he wanted to invest in my first business venture. I laughed in surprise. You didn't. I did. And guess what? He said yes. Her grin was triumphant. Apparently, the Mitchell women are good investment risks now. As we swung gently in the growing darkness, I realized the keys I'd received weren't just to an office or a business. They'd unlocked something far more valuable, a new story for my daughter, one where women in our family defined success on their own terms. The whispers hadn't stopped. They'd just changed. Now they said, "Did you hear what Sarah Mitchell is doing next?" It's been 5 years since that birthday party. Mitchell Financial Advisors now has 3 offices across the Pacific Northwest and manages over $200 million in assets. The Women's Entrepreneurship Fund has launched 28 businesses, creating more than 400 jobs. Emma is in her 2nd year of business school, her choice, not my expectation. She interned with us last summer and showed a natural talent for identifying promising startups. My father asked if she might join the firm eventually. I told him that was entirely her decision to make. As for my family, we've reached a new understanding. They don't always comprehend my choices, but they've learned to respect them. At last year's Thanksgiving, my father raised a toast to Sarah, who taught us all to look beyond what we think we see. The keys from that day hang framed in my office, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful act is believing in yourself when no one else does. Success isn't just about proving others wrong, it's about proving yourself right. If you're standing where I once stood, underestimated, dismissed, or simply unseen, Remember this: your worth isn't determined by others' perception. The journey may be lonely at times, but the destination is worth every step. Your moment with the keys will come, and when it does, own it completely. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences. Share in the comments below about a time you proved the doubters wrong. I read every comment and draw strength from this community of resilient souls. Remember, sometimes the greatest satisfaction isn't just in achieving success, but in redefining what success means on your own terms.